We are TIMBERSPORTS.
United by passion for the sport.
And competition.
We chop down racism.
And say yes to tolerance.
Yes to tolerance.
Say ja till tolerans.
Yes to tolerance.
Yes to tolerance.
是的，理解宽容。
Powiedz tak tolerancji. Ja zu tolerancji.
We are TIMBERSPORTS.
Hello Europe, hello world, and a very Merry Christmas to you all. Ho, ho, ho. Well, today the official holidays are over, and that means we are back in business with a brand new format. And I've also brought my very personal Santa Claus. Troy Mannering, welcome to the studio.
Oh, Santa Claus?
Yeah, I kind of like that. How was Christmas for you, Troy?
Very gift-giving, apparently, if I'm Santa Claus. But yeah, it was great. I mean, it was chilled out, relaxed with family, all good.
And you brought us a great new present, and that's the Virtual European Championship 2020.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to rock and roll. And things have changed in the year 2020. We all know that. But some things have maybe even changed to the better. We want to take a look at everything that happened in the year 2020, because you can get that and watch that on demand. But we also have one competition for 2021 already on the 2nd of January. And that's going to be the Virtual European Hot Sauce Challenge, something that I think is also going to be really exciting. And of course, there's some brilliant stuff that you can watch that happened in the year 2020. And actually, if you take a look at this schedule, there were quite a number of events, even though we had COVID-19. And yeah, still TIMBERSPORTS is definitely alive.
Absolutely. I mean, like you say, Marcus, even with the blockades and the restrictions and all of the things that we had to deal with in 2020, we managed to pull off quite a lot of fantastic competitions. You know, we had the Polish National Championships, we had the German National Championships. You know, I mean, giving these athletes an opportunity to compete through this pandemic has really made a big difference in the sport, and probably in also their availability to or be ready to step into it when the competition does come back to an arena somewhere, or, you know, hopefully somewhere near you guys out there. So cross your fingers for that. But in the meantime, the virtual is the way to go, and it's working pretty well so far.
Absolutely. We had the Virtual Australian Championships in November, and they were a great success. And today, on the 27th of December, we've got the Virtual European Championships. And how this format works, well, you'll hear and see everything about it now.
For reasons we are all aware of, the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS World Championships could not be held this year as planned. Nevertheless, we have the Virtual European Championship for you. It's the first virtual international TIMBERSPORTS competition in history, and this is how it works. The national champions from 14 European countries qualified for this very special format. They competed remotely from 14 different locations in their respective home countries all around Europe. On November 30th, Pierre Pouille-Barret started at his training facility in Sapois, France. Then Italy, Poland, Switzerland, Hungary, Romania, Sweden, Great Britain, Norway, Austria, the Czech Republic, the Netherlands, and Belgium followed. The competition finished with Danny Marr on the 10th of December in Germany. To ensure a fair competition, the wood has been produced and selected as per STIHL TIMBERSPORTS international regulations. All athletes took part in a wood draw via video call, and then their logs are shipped to the locations ahead of the competition. All times were captured using identical video technology at each location and are kept secret from the athletes. The video footage was then sent to international judges to analyze and record times. Despite all the athletes competing in all 6 disciplines, the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS knockout system will still be in play. Therefore, unless the athlete advances through their rounds, their times for all disciplines may not be valid. For round 1, all 14 athletes' times are valid for the first 3 disciplines: underhand chop, stock saw, and standing block chop. Points are awarded in each discipline at 1-point increments. 1 point for 12th place, up to 12 points for first place. The 13th and 14th place athletes receive 0 points. At the end of round 1, the bottom 6 athletes are eliminated from the competition. Only the top 8 athletes' times will be valid for the single buck and springboard. Round 2 has 2-point increments between places. At the end of the round, we lose 2 more athletes, leaving 6 for round 3, the hot saw final. Those 6 remaining athletes' hot saw times are valid and points are awarded with 3-point increments. The 2020 Virtual European Champion is the athlete with the highest points total at the end of round 3.
Well, does this sound cool to you? Well, it certainly does to me. And it's time to meet the 14 athletes. We're going to start with Zoltán Bozsó from Hungary. Troy, big man.
Yeah, he's a bit of an unknown for me anyway, but I hear that he's got quite the axe, so we'll see how he does. We're going to keep a close eye on him. Zoltán Bozsó from Hungary. I'm looking forward to seeing how he rounds out this competition.
And I'm definitely looking forward to you pronouncing his name as we proceed to a second athlete from the Netherlands, Martin Harms. We definitely know this man.
Yeah, Martin has been the 5-time Dutch champion, so, you know, he has definitely got a pedigree under his belt as far as competition is concerned, and, you know, he's got a really strong hot saw, and he's got a really strong single buck.
So athlete number 3 from Norway, a very young man, Vebjørn Sønsteby.
Yeah, we've seen him a couple of times around in various competitions. Norwegian champion 2018 and 19. Still vying to get into the individual championship on the top of the boat, but I think we'll see him down the road a lot more.
Athlete number 4 is from Italy, Andrea Rossi, 46 years of age.
Yeah, great name, Andrea Rossi. It
Love
just
it.
sounds awesome, yeah. But 3-time Italian champion, as you see there. And yep, he's a good one to watch. He's a strong man.
And his hobby is weightlifting, by the way. Just so that you see that I also did I did some research. As we move on to athlete number 5, Ionel Marinita from Romania.
Ionel Marinita, another athlete that is a bit of a stranger for me. You could see there on the list there, bronze medalist for the Romanian Championship in 2019. Maybe the dark horse today, who knows? I guess we'll see how he does. We'll keep a close eye on him as well throughout the competition.
Number 6, Koen Martins from Belgium.
Yeah, well, Koen Martins has been around this game for quite a long time. He knows what's up. He knows how to battle. And, yeah, he's a fun one to watch. He can get really fiery, though.
That's what we love. As we move on to Pierre Puyberet, who is our 7th athlete, talking about people who like to get on fire. He definitely is one of those, and he wants to get up on the podium for the first time. He's just missed out.
Yeah, Pierre Puyberet, you know, you don't see a lot of emotion from Pierre, but he's a funny guy behind the scenes, but he's all focused when he's on stage for his competition runs.
So here comes the Austrian machine, Armin Kugler.
Yeah, Armin, another one of those guys who's all serious, and that look right there tells you everything you need to know. But, you know, he has shown that he's got the skills. He's been 6 times Austrian champion, so there's no doubt that he can do it. He just needs to find that one step farther.
And 24 years of age, and probably the name to count on in the future, of course, is Ferry Svan from Sweden.
Interesting. His training is a real family affair. His mom films all his competition runs, and then they go back and analyze everything. So you're going to see marked improvement from Ferry Svan in all of these disciplines as he gets more experience. Interesting character.
And hopefully, thank you, Mom, at the end of every competition.
Absolutely.
Our 10th competitor is Christoph Geisler from Switzerland.
Yeah, among the oldest of the guys that are out there. We call him the granddaddy caddy of timber sports. He's been around for a long time, but I say this all the time. In the last 2-3 years, we've seen his fitness level go through the roof. He is absolutely a machine.
A really cool dude. So is Elgin Pugh from Great Britain.
Yeah, Elgin is another one of those guys who's really fiery. You know, he's got that fire in his belly. He wants to have it. There's just a couple of small things here and there that need to happen for him because he's right on the cusp of being right at the top of the game.
Talk about fire in the belly. Denny Ma from Germany. This guy is on fire, and he's going to be very dangerous in this competition.
Well, Germany's got a massively strong team. Danny Mar's doing a lot of training with Dirk Brown as well, so you know he's ready for all of these different disciplines, and I think he's probably one of the stronger athletes in this mix.
As we proceed to our 13th competitor, and that's Michał Dubicki from Poland. He is someone to watch for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Michał Dubicki is a powerhouse. He's a big hitter, but not only that, because power without control doesn't mean anything. He has absolutely fantastic accuracy with the axes. He's very strong on the saws, so he would be a real favorite in this one for sure.
Only one more missing, and that's Martin Komarek from the Czech Republic.
I've never seen this guy not smiling. Even when he had problems in England a few years ago with his chain coming off his saw, he was all grins. He's just a nice guy and a legend in the sport as well.
Absolutely. And that means we've seen all 14 athletes. Time to take a look at tool and discipline of our first competition. Here we go.
The axes used in timber sports definitely can't be bought at your local hardware store. Made from special steel, the blade is hand sanded with an angle of 13 to 16 degrees. It's custom built and carefully adjusted for each competition. The weight is around 3 kilos and it's about 80 centimeters long. The blade is so sharp that you could shave with it. Underhand chop. In the past, the underhand chop technique was used to split logs. Standing on a horizontally anchored block, the athletes cut through a 32 centimeter log. The block has to be worked from both sides.
All right, so there we see our start list for the underhand chop, and our first heat is going to be Zoltán Bosó going up against Martin Harms, and that will be an interesting one. Martin Harms, we know, has a very, very strong underhand chop. Zoltán Bosó, like I said off the start of the show, Marcus, I don't have a lot of information about him, so I'm really curious to know how he handles himself up against Martin. All right, so there you see the side-by-side matchup of their statistics. World record, by the way, for the underhand chop, a speedy 12:39.
Stand to your timber.
There we go.
3, 2, 1, go!
All right, left-hand side of your screen, Zoltán Bosó, Martin Harms on the right-hand side of your screen. And as you saw in the description, they have to cut through the log from both sides, so that means moving around. And Zoltán Bosó has already done that. Martin Harms stepping around just after Zoltán has done that. And Zoltán Bosó has a distinct advantage at this point as he started on the backside of his log a little bit faster than Martin did. Let's see who gets through first as the time winds up here. And it's going to be Zoltán Bosó at 26:74 and a 27:37 for Martin Harms. You can see here Martin Harms working that axe very well. Nice speed of the axe, but he gets a big stick right there. And every time you see that happen, you have to know these guys work really hard to get it back out of the block, and that takes a lot of energy. All right, so our first times are locked in there. Those will change as times get faster or slower, depending on who is racing. So at the moment, Zoltán Bosó is at the top of the leaderboard for underhand chop. But our next heat is coming up between Vebjørn Sønsteby and Andrea Rossi. So on the right-hand side, 46-year-old Andrea Rossi looking like he's in his 30s, and he's fit like that as well. And he's going to need it going up against a 24-year-old Vebjørn Sønsteby.
3, 2, 1, go!
Here we go, and they are working it. Big slabs coming off of both of these blocks already. Sønsteby really working that quick axe. Oh, but he gets a huge hookup, and Andrea Rossi gets a few strokes ahead of him, but Sønsteby moves over around to the other side just about the same time as Rossi did, maybe a hair behind. So it's going to be down to maybe 1 or 2 drives to see who is going to win this heat. A couple of sticks on both sides, and it's Sønsteby getting through, but I can't tell. Oh my gosh, it looks like it's Andrea Rossi in 24.04 and Sønsteby in 24.64. That was close. And there you can see the drives by Rossi. He did a great job. It was one big hookup by Sønsteby early on this side of the block that cost him maybe 1 or 2 strokes. And yeah, it was 64 hundredths of a second. 60 hundredths of a second. So Andrea Rossi, with the fast time so far, moves to the top of the underhand chop leaderboard. Sønsteby right behind him. Then it's Bosó and Harms in 3rd and 4th place, respectively. And we move on to our next heat with Ionel Marinica and Koen Martens. So there we see the side-by-side matchup of these two, and as you see, there's not a whole lot of data for Marinica. Koen Martens, on the other hand, watch his axe head speed on the right-hand side of your screen.
3, 2, 1, go!
You can see quick hits by Martens. Marinica going for the big power blows, but he's very accurate with that axe. Koen Martens already moved over to the other side. We should see a good time for the Belgian. Marinica working hard to try and get through. Martens with a fantastic time of 16.73. Marinica trying to find that groove, but he has really got a lot to go and finally gets it done in 25.20, but a great time by Koen Martens with a 16.73. And that's what I was talking about, that quick axe speed by Koen Martens. And there we see Marinica, a couple of big drives where he gets that axe caught in too deep. Accuracy was great, though, and that final drive right there to finally split it. Meanwhile, Koen Martens just using all that experience, a quick hop to the other side, and he drove through very quickly in just over 16 seconds, and he's happy. And there you see a 7.5 second almost difference between Koen Martens and Andrea Rossi in 1st and 2nd place. Marinica sits down in 4th place now. And we're moving on to our next heat between Pierre Puy-Barré and Armin Kugler. Now, we're looking at these two. I could quote the Joker and say, why so serious? But these guys are really focused about their job here, and they want to do as quick cuts as they possibly can. This should be a great heat.
1, go!
Armin Kugler working that axe quickly. Pierre Puy-Barré took a few big heavy hits off the start, but he started to move the axe quick, but stepped down, and Armin Kugler has now moved over to the other side as well as Puy-Barré, and it could be very close between these two. Both of them are power hitters. Both of them have plenty of experience, and it's Kugler in 21.96, Puy-Barré in 24.50. There you see Puy-Barré. He's a tall man, and he can really put a lot of velocity on that axe head. Right here, you can see that slab that was a little bit off where the foothold is. He didn't have anywhere to put his foot step down. Luckily, he got back up before he made his next stroke. And let's take a look now.
So Armin Kugler moves into second place, gaining 11 points. Puy-Barret slips into fourth place after that heat. So Koen Martin still with the fastest time of the day, the time to beat, just ahead of Kugler, and then Rossi in third place as we move on to Ferry Swan and Christoph Geisler. Old versus young. Experience versus vim and vigor. We've seen this matchup in numerous competitions before.
3, 2, 1.
They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but Christoph Geisler has taken to heart the way that the guys are swinging the axes these days. You can see he is keeping up with Ferry Swan's axe head speed quite nicely. Ferry Swan, though, moves over to the other side of his block quickly. Geisler, he took a stroke when he was on the ground. That could cause him problems. Ferry Swan, though, is finally through in a 19.44. That should put him in second place in underhand chop, but we may have a problem with Christoph Geisler. I don't know if there's going to be issue with the fact that he swung well, his foot was on the ground. We'll have to wait and see. There you see Ferry Swan, and that quick axe has just been a thing that's come in the last 4 or 5 years, thanks to the Australians and the way that they just changed the game of swinging the axe so fast. Christoph Geisler, as I said, for a 46-year-old man, he is in the shape of his 20s, looking great. So no disqualification there for Christoph Geisler, but he's sitting in 8th place. Ferry Swan slips into second place with the second fastest time of the day in underhand chop. Next up, we have Elgin Pugh and Danny Marr. Danny Marr on the right-hand side of your screen, one of the most well-rounded timber sport athletes in the world at the moment. Elgin Pugh needing to find just that little edge. Let's see how he does here against Danny.
1, go!
And both of these guys swinging at a good frequency. Danny Marr with a little stick there, but he got it back out fairly quickly. Elgin Pugh doing well to keep up with him. They both switch over to the other side quite at the same time. And Elgin Pugh looks like he's doing well to get through there, but Danny Marr is a power hitter, and this is where he gets stronger. Is he going to make it? Danny Marr is going to do it in 20.77. Elgin Pugh, a huge hookup 2 times in a row, 3 times, and now he's struggling to find that final drive, and then he gets it in 29.12. Unfortunate because he was so close and just a couple of sticks, and it really caused problems with him having to get that axe back out. Danny Marr, on the other hand, a great job to really keep that axe moving and just do a nice fast cut there. Not the fastest time we've seen from him, but he has got a time, and so does Elgin Pugh, so both will count. And you can see there, huge axe stick, not once, not twice, but 3 times to finally get through. And that's a face of disappointment. So let's take a look at the rankings here in underhand chop. Danny Marr is in 3rd place with the 3rd fastest time. Elgin Pugh, a 29.12. That's an unfortunate time for the Brit, and he'll want to come back in the other disciplines to try and gain back some points. And we have one more heat with Mika Dubicki going up against Martin Komarek. Well, the development of STIHL Timber Sports over the years is on screen right there. Martin Komarek has been at it for a long time. Mika Dubicki has experience, and he is a power hitter. Both of these guys should be well matched against each other. I love how Martin Komarek has taken to heart also trying to get that axe moving as quickly as possible. Dubicki moves to the other side of his block, just a stroke ahead of Komarek. And Komarek is now doing a great job as Dubicki finally breaks it open at 15.08. Komarek and 16.34. 2 fantastic times from a couple of warriors. Absolutely amazing. There's Komarek. Wow, he doesn't look like he's missed a step. Moving that axe quickly and getting some nice big slabs out there. Dubicki, as I said, a power hitter. So Dubicki, she's up there on the top with a 15.08, great time. Komarek in second with a 16.34, pushes Koen Martins and Ferry Swan down into 3rd and 4th place.
Oh, wow. What a start into this virtual European Championship. And as always, we're going to take a closer look at the head-to-head of the two best chops. In this case, Michal Dubicki versus Martin Komarek. Troy, the last heat, we're going to analyze that one just to take a closer look and see what made the small difference.
Yeah, that last heat was also the two fastest times in the competition so far, and you can see here both of these guys are really swinging for bear with that axe. It's Dubicki that actually moves over to the other side, one stroke ahead of Martin Komarek, but Komarek is a no-give-up kind of guy. He did get his axe a little bit stuck in there and maybe was 2 strokes back of Dubicki at the end, so really close heat.
Absolutely, but so many times we talk about this, very, very many differences in technique. These two guys seem to have a totally different technique, if you ask me, but they were they had almost the same time. So it's very hard to find the potential to get better.
Well, this is the thing that we've been noticing, and I mentioned earlier on, that the axes seem to be swinging a lot faster these days. And I mean, the guys are really taking to heart that Australian style that we saw a few years back where, I mean, we were just amazed by how quick they're hitting the log. And I mean, you have to have the fitness, you have to have the strength, you have to have the accuracy. Everything needs to come into play here. And both of these guys, yeah, they have slightly different styles, but Dubicki just had a little bit more power added into everything else that was in play there. And Martin Komarek, I mean, he's fantastic as well. You can't deny that he is right there at the top of his game right now. Absolutely.
Great to watch in any case, but it's not only about the chopping, of course, it's also about the cutting. So let's take a closer look at tool and discipline of stock saw.
The STIHL MS661CM stock saw is used in STIHL TIMBERSPORTS as the ultimate test of operator skill. Designed for the toughest jobs in forestry, it produces approximately 7.3 horsepower, has a displacement of 91.1 cc, and weighs 7.4 kilograms. To ensure evenly and fairly matched saws, professional STIHL technicians prepare and test the saws before each competition. Stock saw. After the starting shot, the contestants have to cut 2 wooden discs, so-called cookies, within a 10-centimeter mark, one downward and one upward. The attempt is only valid when both discs have been cut off completely and within the marks.
All right, so our start list looks like that right there. It's Marinicha going up against Rossi, Boscho against Kugler, Dubicki against Pugh, Sonsteby, Geisler, Puy-Barré, Swan, Martens, Komarek, and Harms Mar. Now is where we're going to get into the mixing of the points. As the points start to accumulate, we're going to see changes in the overall standings, which we'll tell you about a little bit more later on. And we see the setups here as we get ready to go. So again, our mystery guest today, Marinicha, going up against Andrea Rossi, although he does have a very good personal best in the stock saw.
3, 2, 1, go!
And it looked like Andrea Rossi was having trouble hearing the commands there, but they get going, both of them with a nice first cut, but it's Marinicha who's a little bit faster than Rossi, and it looks like he's going to take out the vet in a nice time of 11:19. Very, very good time for Marinicha at 13:48 for Rossi, and I think he maybe got a little bit disturbed by the fact that he couldn't hear the commands, and then was surprised when he had to put his hands back on the wood. Marinicha with a great start, and as they say, thin to win. That first cookie is super thin, as is Rossi's. And I think maybe Rossi had just a little bit too much pressure on that saw to slow the chain down. The second cookie was a massive one for Marinicha, though. All right, so the first points are locked and loaded in stock saw, and we're going to move on to our next heat with Zoltán Boscho going up against Armin Kugler. And there's a quick look at how that's going to shift in the overall standings as well. You're going to see that a lot more, and we'll explain how that works as we move through the heats.
Also remember, these saws are the same saws that you could pick up at your local steel dealership, so there's nothing adapted about them at all. And there we see Boscho and Kugler getting ready to go head-to-head with
to
each
your
other.
timber.
9.51, by the way, is the world record.
Go!
Oh, Boscho with a great start. Armin Kugler opting for a bit of a heavy angle coming in. Boscho leaning into it on that upstroke. And here comes Kugler, but Boscho's got it in a 9.91. And Kugler, wow, I am a little bit surprised at how slow that was for Armin at a 13.07. Great time by Zoltán Boscho, though. Taking a look at Armin Kugler here as he opts to keep the motor of the saw more or less in the same position. And Boscho, watch what happens here when he steps into this. He steps up and forward and really works the angle of that saw. So a good time by Boscho puts him in the lead by a bullet, almost 1.5 seconds faster than Marinicha, and Kugler with a 13.07 sits in third place. Let's see how that affects the overall time here, or the overall points. Yeah, well, Armin Kugler with 17 points now with top spot in the overall standings, Marcus.
Oh, this is really, really nice. This might be virtual, but there's so much excitement, not only with the athletes, but also with Troy Mannering going mad. And Boscho, did you see how cool he was? It was like, yeah, that's an awesome time, but yeah, I'm just having fun. And if you're enjoying this as much as Troy and me, Amazon Prime has a lot more international steel timber sports events to offer for you. So take a closer look at this next clip and make sure not to miss out on anything that Steel Timber Sport has to offer.
Oh my God, how close is this? It's one of the closest heats we've had all day long, and it's Australia!
When the crowd start, erupting, screaming, shouting, it just really does give you goosebumps.
It's pretty awesome to compete in front of a crowd like this.
I've been working my ass off the last 5 years to get to this point.
Is it going to be the checker moment? Yes, it is! And the crowd goes bananas! He moves on, then goes down. He's looking good!
It might make some people nervous. It doesn't make me nervous. It makes me ready to go.
To come here to the World Championships is one of my dreams. It has been ever since as a kid.
Well, how cool was that? Love it. But now, back to the competition. Troy is so ready.
Yep.
So ready.
So ready.
He's so ready for this. Let's move on.
All right, there we see Michal Dubicki and Elgin Pugh, the two guys in our next heat. Elgin very focused as he wants to make up for a pretty sour start on the underhand chop. And he's quite strong with the stock saw, so let's see if he can make that work for him against Michal
to
Dubicki.
your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Really quick start by Elgin Pugh. Michal Dubicki, putting on some pressure, and Elgin Pugh with a great first cut. Oh, Dubicki's got to reset, pull that saw back up. He's got a little bit too much pressure, and he is long in that one at 12.93. Elgin Pugh with a 10.46. A good time for the Brit, and that is going to be redemption for him. Tense moments here while they check to make sure everything is okay.
Unfortunately, we have a disqualification.
Oh, no! A disqualification for Elgin Pugh. All right, so you see two clean cuts, although Michal Dubicki had to reset right there. I think he put a little bit too much pressure on that blade, felt it slow down. And here, it's the first cut from Elgin Pugh was no problem, but right on the second cut, he had a really wide entry into the block, and I think he had that angle that was okay at the top, but he got in at the bottom on that red line that you see on the block. Hence, we have the DQ, and that is a disappointing second discipline for him. So there we see our results so far in stock saw. Boscho still on top with a 9.91. Dubicki with a 12.93 sitting in third.
Elgin Pugh at the bottom of the current rankings and stock saw with a DQ. And as we take a look at the overall standings, like he is at the outside of the screen because in 14th place with almost no points at this time. That's a tough thing for him. But Dubicki on top with 22 points with Armin Kugler right behind him and Marinica sitting in third place with 14. So it's still wide open, Marcus.
I really have to say I feel very sorry for Elgin Pugh. I mean, that was very, very unlucky. 2 great cuts, but that second one just crossed the line. And Troy, that's what happens.
That's competition. I mean, anything can happen, and everything does happen in these competitions. We've seen it many, many a time before. It's just a small loss of focus, and the saw is just a little bit too far over, and that's what we saw with Elgin Pugh when he was just too far over on the line on his upcut on that second cut. And, you know, it's a DQ, 0 points, and he's down in 14th place at the moment, which is unfortunate.
Oh, that definitely is unfortunate. So let's see and find out what Elgin has to say himself.
Well, it's probably as bad as it can be, really. You know, a cut line. It's just, you know, the worst outcome possible. So, you know, it's not a lot I can say, really.
Obviously not happy about that result. Yes, very easy to understand. But as we said, that's how things work out sometimes. This is what the competition is all about. And we are going back to heat number 4.
All right, Heat 4, we've got Vebjorn Sundsteby going up against Christoph Geisler. So we can see good comparison between these two guys. More or less the same in stature, but age is a big difference. Christoph Geisler being 46 and Vebjorn just 24.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, look at that style, though. Very similar on that first cut. Oh, this is going to be a close one. Geisler and Sundsteby. It's going to be Geisler with a 10.50 and Sundsteby with a 10.81. 2 very good cuts. And that was about as close as you can get to style, positioning, and speed in a head-to-head heat. That was amazing. Look at this. Geisler gets in. If we could get a head-to-head with these guys again, you could see their position is almost identical. There you see Sundsteby takes a quick step in to reposition on that upstroke. Geisler, just a small angle up there, and he was just a hair quicker than Sundsteby. And now we take a look at the timing here. 2 good times for those guys. They're sitting in 2nd and 3rd, respectively. Bosho still with the fastest time of the day. And in the overall, that means Dubicki stays on top, Kugler in 2nd, but Sundsteby is in 3rd place now with Geisler moving into 4th place. Next heat up, Pierre Puy-Barré against Ferry Swan. As far as stature is concerned, these guys couldn't be any more different. Pierre Puy-Barré, 110 kilos, 1.90 m tall. Ferry Swan, 86 kilos, 1.75 m. You know, a little guy against a big guy. Good start, though, by Ferry Swan as he's got a good first cut, just slightly ahead of Puy-Barré. And he's got it in a 10.11 and Puy-Barré in 11.02. Wow, nicely done by Ferry Swan. He's got a real touch for how much pressure to put on that saw. Let's take a look back at the slow-mo here. Nice entry in with a good thin disc. Wasn't paper thin, but it was thin enough to make it easier for that saw to travel through that block. Puy-Barré also a good one, and there's the upstroke and the winning cut from Ferry Swan. So Ferry Swan with a 10.11. Look at the top guys there in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place. It's 10.11, 10.50, 10.81. Puy-Barré in 5th with an 11.02, not far off the pace. And Ferry Swan now moves into the top of the rankings, just ahead of Dubicki, Sundsteby, and Puy-Barré, now in 4th place. And we move on to our next heat, heat number 6, between Koen Martens and Martin Komarek. So here we go. A couple of titans. These two guys have been around the game for a long time. Experience definitely belongs to Martin Komarek, though.
Go!
Very, very nice start from both of them. Koen Martens with a faster downstroke. Is he going to be able to keep that pace? He is, and a 9.95 for Koen Martens. Had a bit of an angle on the way up, and it's 11.40 for Martin Komarek. Surprised that it was that much slower on the upstroke. Koen Martens, though, with an excellent entry into the block here. Watch the angle on the upstroke from him when we go back to him. Look at that, though. Barely any swing at all on that saw from Martin Komarek. Yeah, the angle was there, but he didn't go across the line, so he is safe. Koen Martens with a 9.95, the only other guy to break under the 10-second mark. And Martin Komarek at 11.40, surprised by that, sitting in 8th place in the overall standings. Komarek, though, moves up into 3rd, just behind Ferry Svan. And Koen Martens now takes over the lead in the overall with 21 points. And we move to our final heat in stock saw. Martin Harms against Danny Marr. Tail of the tape here. And remember, that world record is at 9.51. That is a blistering pace.
To your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Ooh, good start by Danny Marr. He gets a quick cut on that first one. Look at that. Though both of them were very fast, that cookie dropped almost identically at the same time. It's going to be Harms just ahead of Danny Marr with a 10.08. My goodness, that was close. Martin Harms with a 10.08. Danny Marr with a 10.21. Thumbs up for the cuts as we take a look back into the slow-mos here. They both got in there really quick, although that is a massively thick first cut, though. Danny Marr had a much thinner first cut. Good transition, but he was just a little bit too slow on that upstroke. But you know what? That's the way it goes. He's got some points under the belt with 2 good cookies. So let's take a look here. Martin Harms with a 10.08 and Danny Marr with a 10.21, sitting in 3rd and 5th, respectively, in the stock saw. Let's see how that affects the overall when we calculate the points together. Danny Marr in 3rd, now just behind Ferry Svan, and Koen Martens holds on to the top spot. Martin Harms moves down to 9th place.
Now, that was very enjoyable, with the top times being really, really close together. And as always, we want to look at head-to-head of the top 2 times, and in this case, that's Zoltán Bozsó versus Koen Martens. Troy, that's a close one. That's a good one.
It was very close. Let's take a look back here at these 2 guys when we see our side-by-side pictures of them. And as I said, the world record is 9.50 or 9.51. And these guys are in the 9 range, as we see Koen Martens on the right-hand side, Zoltán Bozsó on the left-hand side. Really, really close. Look at the style differences there with that really big deep dive with the Zoltán Bozsó just ahead of Koen Martens. Very nice heat, though.
Well, that was a great finish. Unreal. So let's take a look at the rankings at the moment. Here are the overall standings, with Koen Martens taking the lead with 21 points, followed by Ferry Svan with 18 and Danny Marr with 16 points. So everything and anything is still possible as we move on to the standing block chop. And everything you need to know about this discipline, here it comes.
Standing block chop. At the standing block chop, the felling of a tree with an axe is simulated. A vertically positioned wooden block with a diameter of 30 centimeters has to be cut through both sides. A powerful and precise swing with the axe is the premise of a good result. All right, so there we look at the start list of our standing block chop. Bozsó, who did really well in stock saw, is going up against Sundsteby, Rossi, Geisler, Marinica, Harms, Pugh, Martens, Dubicki, Kugler, Marr, Komarek, Puy-Barré, and Svan. Let's get into it. Zoltán Bozsó checking his log with a quick taste test to see if maybe it's the right log for him. And Vebjorn Sundsteby,
stand to your
ready
timber.
to go.
3, 2, 1, go!
This is an important discipline for these guys now because, oh, a huge skip by Bosho as that axe flew away from him. He needs to restart as Sonstaby is looking very good. As I was saying, an important discipline because the last points in round one can be accumulated with the standing block chop to get you into round number 2. Now, Bosho had a huge axe skip, and that caused him big problems as he had to step back and restart everything. And one more drive from Sonstaby will do it at 24:51. And he is in the lead in the standing block chop. Bosho struggling after that axe skip, and then he gets it stuck in there, not once but twice, and it should be 1-2 more drives to get through that block. And hopefully, this sticky one now is he's trying to get through. He's got plenty of support from the sidelines, though, as we hear family and friends screaming along, but a 42.93, not the time he was hoping for. Let's see what happened here. Oh, there's the skip right there. The axe glanced off of some of those slabs that were hanging, and then he had to reset everything, and that's going to play a big mental role as well. Sonstaby, on the other hand, he was clean and accurate and kept that power going, so the 24-year-old doing well to have the first time in standing block chop, and at the moment has 12 points under his belt. Will that stand? Don't know. We'll have to see how things go as we take a look at the overall standings. Bosho still in the lead here with 24 points now, with Sonstaby sitting in second. And now we move to the heat number 2 with Andrea Rossi and Christoph Geisler, a couple of guys that have gone head-to-head in the past. And both of them at 46 years of age, pretty evenly matched all around, although Geisler has definitely the fastest personal best in standing block chop.
3, 2, 1, go!
Geisler getting in really quick. Very frequent hits with the axe. Andrea Rossi, he's throwing a lot of power in there as well. Geisler has already moved over to the other side. He's about 2-3 strokes ahead of Rossi at this point. Rossi trying to put as much power in, but he just gets that axe caught in there, and a great final drive by Geisler in a time of 20:13. Rossi does it in 25:65, so they'll be sitting in second and third place now, or maybe even first and third place now. Let's take a look at that overall once we see. And there's Geisler. Really, really accurate hits there, slabbing out nicely. Rossi with all that power. Final drive for Christoph Geisler. So Geisler in first place now with a 20:13, and Rossi in third, yes, with a 25:65, and that will change the overall standing slightly. Bosho still in the lead with 22 points here. Geisler in second place now. Sonstaby, Martin, Swan, Rossi, but Martins and Swan still have a heat to come. And speaking of Martin Harms, he's up next against Ionel Marinicha. So far, I've been really impressed with this guy, Marinicha. I mean, dark horse, you could definitely say that for sure. He's been a lot of fun to watch. He's put the axe and saw into every ounce of effort and made it work well for him. So Martin Harms and Ionel Marinicha. Marinicha moving over to the other side of his block first, just a stroke or so ahead of Martin Harms. Martin Harms throwing some big wedges out, though, as he hits hard. This might be a close heat here between these two, as Harms is digging hard on the backside as well as Marinicha. And Harms does it in 33:17, although he did move around to the backside after Marinicha, and Marinicha gets it in a 37:78. And a little shake of the head from Martin Harms says, yeah, that wasn't a satisfying chop for me. Marinicha, on the other hand here, he had a great start, moved over quickly, but just wasn't quite fast enough on the backside of his block. A couple of sticky moments there for Martin Harms as well. So let's get a look at the standing block chop rankings so far. Martin Harms and Marinicha, 4 and 5, with 9 and 8 points respectively. And let's see what effect that has on the overall standings. Both of the guys
have their points, but Harms is sitting in 5th, Marinicha down in 9th. Geisler now in the overall on top with 21, and we go to our next heat with Elgin Pugh against Koen Martens. Now, as I said off the top, both of these guys can get really fiery when it comes to this stuff, though Koen Martens can be a bit of a clown beforehand as well. So it's fun to keep the attitude a little light in these things. Sometimes it helps a bit.
Go!
This is a chance now for Elgin Pugh, who doesn't really have a chance to get to the next round, just to redeem himself personally as he moves over to the other side just behind Koen Martens, who is absolutely demolishing that log. Huge, wide stance for him and big hits by Koen Martens. Elgin Pugh doing a great job, and he's got it. Finally, some good time and good points for Elgin Pugh with a 22.67. Koen Martens with a 24.23. There we see Koen Martens. Big slabs coming off for him. Elgin Pugh. There's a nice chunk for him as well. So this was a bit of a redeemer for Elgin, although you could see he's still not 100% happy with everything. So look at that, the second fastest time for Elgin Pugh, and that tells you everything you need to know about the guy. He's definitely got the skills. It's just a little bit of bad luck from time to time. And now he is sitting in 12th place, with Koen Martens moving into the top spot with 31 points after the third discipline in round 1. And we move on to heat number 5 with Mikael Dubicki and Armin Kugler. All right, and again, the world record time for the standing block chop is 11.03 seconds.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
And look at Mikael Dubicki go. He has got a quick axe. Armin Kugler throwing a lot of power in there. They both move over to the other side at around the same time. Armin Kugler maybe a hair behind Mikael Dubicki. Oh my goodness, a great time by Mikael Dubicki with a 15.98. Kugler got a couple of sticks there, and he could have had it down a little bit earlier, but he's at 23.40 now, 48. So he is sitting in 4th place in the standing block chop. Mikael Dubicki, though, just hammering away at this block. Quick axe, using all of his immense power. Armin Kugler, he's a tall guy with long legs, so he really has the opportunity to use that big, wide stance to really swing through his hips. So Kugler with a 23.48 sitting in 4th now. Dubicki with the fastest time of the day by 4.15 seconds moves into the lead in the standing block chop and the overall standings. He slips up into 2nd place with Koen Martens still holding down the top spot. Armin Kugler in 5th. And Danny Marr up now against Martin Komarek. And as I said, Danny Marr, a very well-rounded timber sports athlete. Martin Komarek, the absolute veteran, still relevant, still in competition mode, and still looking like a young man out there. Here we go. Komarek so powerful and accurate with his hits. And look at that, moving over to the other side really quickly. Danny Marr digging a little bit deeper on his first side. Komarek just making short work of this, though. Danny Marr's got a lot of power behind him, though. Can he catch up to Komarek, who had a big stick right there? And Danny Marr's going to do it in 21.12, and Komarek in 21.47. Oh, my goodness. How close was that one? Another very, very tight heat at the end. Komarek moved over to the other side, not going so deep on the first part of his cut. And Danny Marr opted to go a bit deeper, and that could have been the difference maker for him as he got through and just a little bit faster than Komarek did. Look how close those two guys were. Hey, 21.12 at 21.47. Not that much difference, and they are sitting 3rd and 4th in standing block chop. And with the overall, Koen Martens with a solid 27 points still in the lead. Dubicki in 2nd. Danny Marr, though, moves into 3rd with Martin Komarek in 4th. And our final heat in standing block and in round 1, Pierre Puy-Barré going up against Ferry Swan.
Ferry Swan really strong in this discipline, but Pierre Pouillet-Barré, this is one of his favorites.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
That log is shaking from the huge hits that Pouillet-Barré is giving it. And on the other side, Ferry Swan has moved over already. Pouillet-Barré joining him, though, and Ferry Swan is looking good. He's got that one down in a good time, 16:27. Pouillet-Barré in 17:97. The two other fast times on the day below the 20 mark. Fantastic job by both. Look at that first hit by Ferry Swan, just digging deep for it. Pouillet-Barré on the backside of his huge slabs coming off from the power this man has. And there's the final drive from Ferry Swan, and a bit of relief from Pouillet-Barré. So, standing block chop. Ferry Swan in second place with Pouillet-Barré in third. And Dubicki still holding the top spot, but in the overall standings, how does that switch it around? Oh, Ferry Swan moves up into the top spot with Pouillet-Barré in sixth place.
Well, very well done, Ferry Swan, but Michal Dubicki, are you kidding me? What did this guy do in this discipline? Let's take a closer look at the best two chops. And of course, it's Dubicki versus Swan. Troy, that is real class.
Yeah, these two guys just really went for it. We know that Dubicki's got a ton of power. And, you know, for a slight guy, Ferry Swan has absolute skill and power as well. You can see those legs are long. They go all the way to his ears, and he's using that to his advantage to really put a lot of power behind his hits. Dubicki just slightly faster than Swan, but a solid comparison between those two.
Oh, I really enjoyed that. So let's take a closer look at the overall standing now. So it's Ferry Swan with 29 right on top. Michael Dubicki right behind him with 26. And Koen Martens also in reaching distance with 25 points. Denny Maar 24 points. So this could go anywhere. Absolutely exciting. Really enjoying this new format. And as we are halfway through, ladies and gents, it's not only always good to look into the future, but every now and then maybe it's time to take a look at the past. And in this case, let's find out more about the roots of the original extreme sport. Enjoy what's coming up now.
A woodsman who can cut down a tree more easily than most people can chop one up. When it really comes to tackling large lumps, you can't beat the men of the forestry companies.
An axeman's gathering.
So here we have the overall ranking from round 1. And as we all know, only 8 athletes are going to make it to the second round. And that's these 8 men. Did you expect those 8 to go to the second round, Troy?
Swan, Dubicki, Martens, Maar, Komarek, Pouillet-Barré, Geisler, Kugler. Yeah,
Yes.
that's pretty much the guys I would have thought would have made it. But that doesn't mean the guys like Rossi and Pugh and Sonsteby shouldn't have made it. It was just that close in some cases. I mean, Pugh had a rough day, so that's just the way it goes for him. But he'll be back. He'll be back.
And that means we are ready for the next discipline. Let's take a closer look at tool and discipline of single buck.
The 2-meter-long cross-cut saw used for the single buck discipline is made especially for competition. A series of consistently patterned 10-centimeter-long teeth are cut with a laser on one side of the saw and then hand-sharpened. Saw teeth are divided into 2 types: cutters, and rakers, just like on the old school saws. The saw weighs about 5 kilos and its base price starts at around €1,500. Single buck. The single buck is a one-man saw about 2 meters long. With this, the athletes have to cut off a complete disc of a 46-centimeter thick wooden block. The perfect interplay between rhythm and strength is the key to success.
All right, taking a look at our start list, we've got Kugler going up against Geisler as a heat we've seen many a time in the past. Puy-Barré and Komarek battling against each other. Again, Danny Marr, Koen Martens, and Mikael Dubicki and Ferry Swan going up against each other. World record for the single buck, by the way, is 12.94 seconds. You could see that massively long saw. It's so many things playing a role here as we look at Armin Kugler getting ready to go up against Christoph Geigler, Austria against Switzerland. And yeah, like I was saying, a lot of things that have to happen with this saw to make it work really well. Too much of an angle, it'll get hooked up. Too little of an angle and you're not cutting properly. Use too little of the saw, you're not cutting efficiently. And these two guys are looking really good. Armin Kugler on the left-hand side of your screen. Long strokes from him. Christoph Geisler on the right. It looks like, oh, how close is that? These have been some close heats all day long with all of the other disciplines. And another one hits the deck with a 13.61 for Armin Kugler and a 13.77 for Christoph Geisler. And you can see here, that saw, he is using the entire length of that blade to really get a super efficient cut. Armin Kugler, the same thing. The saw completely disappears behind that cookie, and then that final stroke to put it on the deck. And now you can see the points are increasing in round 2. Top number of points is 16, and that belongs to Armin Kugler at the moment. All right, in the overall ranking, that means Geisler moves into the top spot just ahead of Armin Kugler, and our next heat is getting ready to go. Pierre Puy-Barré against Martin Komarek. Now, this is a discipline that both of these guys are very, very good at. Not a massive amount of difference between them in the tail of the tape. Both of them very, very long legs, which they can use to their advantage here. And both get started very nicely. You can see the professionalism of these guys as they absolutely have no hookups. And I spoke too soon. Puy-Barré gets a hookup right there, not once but twice. And Komarek is through an 11.24. And Puy-Barré, he just buzzed that one off, but yeah, he got caught a couple of times with just too much of an angle, and that saw bowed out big time. Let's take a look back at the replay. Komarek absolutely using every ounce of his energy to cut a beautiful, clean, and fast cut. Puy-Barré right there, too much angle, saw stalls, a huge bend, and then it happens again a couple of strokes later. There it goes again, killing the energy and the time, and that is the reaction from him. So Puy-Barré, anyway, with a 12.95 is a little bit faster than Kugler-Geisler, and Komarek at the top at the moment with 11.24 seconds. All right, next up we've got Danny Marr and Koen Martens. Koen Martens likes this discipline. He's very good at it. Danny Marr, as I was saying, a really well-rounded athlete in timber sports, but this is not his favorite discipline.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Now we could see here the different styles. Danny Marr opting for shorter strokes but faster. Koen Martens, on the other hand, using a lot more of the blade. And this is very close there. Danny Marr with those short strokes, though, gets it done in 11.87. Koen Martens in a 13.21. So Danny Marr stepping into it here and doing very well in a discipline where he isn't necessarily favored with those shorter strokes. You can see there,
about 10 centimeters of the saw still remaining outside. Oh, but a huge stick there from Koen Martens. And that was probably what cost him the time that he needed to beat Danny Marr in this one. And there's his reaction. Yeah, it is what it is. All right, so Danny Marr with an 11.87, second fastest time. Koen Martens, though, nice time with a 13.21, sits in fourth place in single buck. And taking a look at the overall rankings now, Danny Marr moves into the top spot with 38 points. Koen Martens in third place, just behind Martin Komarek. And our next heat, Mikael Dubicki against Ferry Swan. And there you can see Mikael Dubicki, 188 centimeters, 1.88 m, 115 kilograms. Ferry Swan, 86 kilograms, 178 or 1.78 m tall. Two very different characters.
3, 2, 1, go!
And Ferry Swan opting for really quick, stocky strokes right off the hop. Dubicki doing the same thing. Dubicki's got a lot of power, but Ferry Swan is now opening up to the longer strokes. Oh no! He's cut off the cookie too early. That means he's got to go back and cut the remainder of it. And that is disappointment for Ferry Swan because he was looking very, very good, like he was going to win that heat. And at the end, the cookie broke and he needed to go back up and reset. And that was to the advantage of Mikael Dubicki, who had a complete cookie from top to bottom with shorter strokes, but it worked out for him. And right here's where it breaks off. Just a little bow, and now he's got to set that 2-meter-long saw in position and finish the cut in order for it to count. So Ferry Swan does get it done, but in a 15.41, so he's at the bottom of the bucket here in single buck with Mikael Dubicki in third place with a 12.73. Looking at the overall now, Dubicki moves back into the top spot, tied for first place with Danny Marr, and a couple of titans getting ready to go at it with each other.
A lot of drama here at the start of round 2. And as always, we're going to take a head-to-head closer look at the best two cuts. And that's Martin Komarek versus Danny Marr. Troy, let's do this.
Yes, let's do this. So Martin Komarek, as you know, had a really good cut using the entire length of the saw. Yeah, and they're absolutely going for it. Danny Marr, a little bit shorter on his strokes, but also equally
it up
fast.
Again. That's crazy.
And that's not much difference between those two guys, only a couple hundredths of a second. So you can see it's really, really close.
You kept saying Komarek is fit like in his 20s.
Yeah.
Obviously he is. This
yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And he is loved by the people in the Czech Republic.
I can understand why.
Always smiling. And we see the overall standings here just before springboard. Dubicki on top, Marr, then Komarek, Martens, and Ferry Swan rounding out the top 5.
Oh, wow. Very close together, and that means it's time to tell everybody everything about the discipline springboard. Here it comes.
Springboard. Springboard simulates the traditional way of felling trees, climbing up over thick roots. First, notches known as pockets are chopped into the log. 2 springboards are then anchored into these pockets. The athlete then climbs up to chop through a 27-centimeter thick block of wood in the fastest time possible. All right, so in our springboard, we see the matchups. Kugler will be going up against Geisler, Puy-Barré against Komarek, Danny Marr against Koen Martens, and then Dubicki against Svan. Now, there's a lot of discussion about where the advantages come from in this particular discipline. If you're a big guy, do you struggle on the board, or is it better to be a little guy and stand on the board? It all comes down to placement of that first board in our first heat between Armin Kugler and Christoph Geisler. Both a couple of bigger boys will give you a good demonstration of how well the placement of the board needs to be done in order to be really solid. I'll explain a little bit more about that as we get going.
1, go!
So optimal situation is a 4-hit pocket, and it looks like Armin Kugler has got himself one there. Christoph Geisler, I believe, was at about 6 hits to make that pocket, but so far they are on par with each other here. Now notice the angle of the board for Christoph Geisler compared to Armin Kugler. He's got a little bit more angle on that bottom board. The top board is what's important for that angle there. You want to have a steep enough angle so that you can push off of that back foot and really work with your entire body using your legs to get through that block at the top.
and not have to work just from your arms and shoulders to swing that axe. Now you can see Armin Kugler's board is sagging a little bit, and that means he's going to have to work more as this heat goes on from his arms and shoulders. And meanwhile, Christoph Geisler's got a good board position as he moves to the backside, and it's going to be close between these two guys who are battling very hard. And it's Armin Kugler with a 56-15 and Christoph Geisler with a 56-44. That's as close as it gets in springboard, folks. So check out this first pocket set by Armin Kugler. 4 hits, really nice, solid, getting that board in there. And Christoph Geisler on the other side now. Christoph Geisler's first board was very, very well placed. Armin Kugler's second board was a little bit saggy towards the end of the heat here. And Christoph Geisler just didn't have the power at the end to beat Armin Kugler in this one. So Kugler takes that the first heat in springboard with a 56-15, but not far behind a 56-44. And then the overall standings, those two guys are 4th and 5th place respectively with 36 and 35 points. All right, Pierre Puy-Barré up next against Martin Komarek. So again, the tale of the tape, not really massive differences between these two guys, except for the personal best. Martin Komarek has a faster personal best than Puy-Barré, so the advantage could be with the Czech. A good 4-hit pocket for Komarek, and Puy-Barré has to go back in with the axe just to do some cleaning, and Komarek is already getting his second pocket set. And that one looks like I don't know if it was 4 or 5 hits there. I wasn't quite sure about that because I was paying attention to what Puy-Barré was doing, but Komarek is on top with a good angle on his board in a solid position. Oh no, Puy-Barré has a little bit of a sag on his board. You could really see that board sagging under his weight, and now he's going to have to use his arms and shoulders more than he would be able to use with his legs in the mix as well, and his hips putting some power into it. And Komarek definitely has the advantage here with a 45-65. Good time by Komarek. Puy-Barré struggling, and that's going to make him really tired, not being able to push off of that back leg and twist those hips to get the power into the hits that he really needs. And look at that board. It's sagging so badly. I'm afraid the thing looks like it's going to fall out of there. Hopefully it doesn't. A few more hits should do it for Puy-Barré, but he's well past the 1-minute mark, and that is not going to bode well for his overall standings here, as the springboard is the final discipline before we move over to round 3 in the hot saw. He finishes in a 119.70, and he is going to be disappointed by that, because he's definitely done better than that before. So here is that 4-hit pocket from Martin Komarek. Fantastic. And then Puy-Barré notices something there, grabs the axe back down and cleans it out a bit. That was the first problem. I think he might have second-guessed himself a bit, but he had a chunk that he needed to get out of there. Martin Komarek, though, up on top and just no holds barred, started working that top block, and look at that smile. Right on. Good job by Martin Komarek with the fastest time so far in springboard. At the top of the springboard rankings, Puy-Barré with a 1 minute 19 and 70 in 4th place. And that means in the overall standings, unsurprisingly, Puy-Barré will move into 2nd place, but that's not going to hold up very long unless the other guys' times are absolutely dismal. Next up, Danny Marr up against Koen Martens. World record 35.67 held by Sterling Hart. He got that in Stuttgart a few years back, and that is just an absolutely spectacularly difficult time to catch up to. But here we go, Danny Marr, Koen Martens. Oh, a big skip by Danny Marr, but he doesn't care. He's going to place that first board after 4 hits, and Koen Martens, oh! And it was a problem right there from Danny Marr. He has to go back and reset that board as it popped out. Thankfully, it was the bottom board and not the top one when he's 2 meters off the ground with that sharp instrument in his hands. And now he's got himself a solid board, but hopefully that won't mess around with his headspace too much. Koen Martens, meanwhile, has set his second pocket and board in place, and now is starting working on the top block. Danny Marr now working to get his
second board in position, and it looks like he's got a great angle on it. Hopefully that board can stay that way as well. And look at how far back on the board he is. That is a great job by Danny Marr to have a good position on the board. Koen Martens, meanwhile, is well deep into his top block, and now we'll switch sides on that odd angle to try and finish it off with a few more strokes. And there it's done in 57.30 by Koen Martens. And Danny Marr now passing the 1 minute mark, struggling on that first side. The problem here for him was that first board wasn't set properly, and he has to cut through from the backside, but the block fell off, so he's got to do at least one cut to make it fair. And that's an unfortunate time for Danny Marr at what? Oh, wait a minute now. They might not allow that, in fact.
Cut from one side.
Oh, even though he did the cut from the back side, he went too deep on the first side, so that means an unfortunate DQ for Danny Marr. Now look at this. Imagine the axe was in your hand and you're 2 meters above. That's what's so dangerous about this discipline. And there, Danny Marr just had too much power and only cut from one side, and the rule says you have to cut from both sides of the log. So Koen Martens, good position up there, did a great job and managed to bring that down in a 57.30. So taking a look at the springboard rankings there, Koen Martens in 4th place, Danny Marr with a DQ in 5th place with 1 heat to go. And as we take a quick look at the overall standings, that means Koen Martens moves into 2nd place behind Martin Komarek, and Danny Marr will have to live with his existing 38 points.
Oh, wow, what a heat. And I just love watching Koen Martens. He's got so much style. But Danny Marr, what happened? Danny, was war los?
Ja, Springboard ist nicht so gelaufen, wie ich es mir vorgestellt hätte. Ich habe auf der ersten Seite 2 Schläge zu viel investiert und somit ist der Block abgebrochen. Und Block muss von beiden Seiten durchtrennt werden, deswegen die Q und auch keine Chance, denke ich, auf die Otzer.
Well, it's more or less what Troy said. He just said he invested 2 strokes too many on one side, and therefore...
Yeah, you got to cut from both sides. I mean, otherwise it's not a legal cut. And I mean, he tried to get it on the backside, but it just wasn't enough. And cutting off a toothpick size of wood off the top of that is not going to get you your fair block.
Strength?
Absolutely, he did. He went too deep, and I think he just. I mean, in some
happens
terms,
to me a lot
it would
of
be
times,
like
well.
a bit of a lucky block, but in this case, it was an unlucky block.
Yeah,
It just broke off in a big slab too soon.
Know the feeling. Absolutely know the feeling.
All right, so our next heat, Michael Dubicki going up against Ferry Swan. And again, it's Goliath. What is it again? David and Goliath. Thank you. I've been struggling to find that name the whole day.
3, 2, 1, go!
All right, here we go. Ferry Swan, really strong in this discipline. And he's got himself a quick first pocket there, and he is up. Michael Dubicki doing a little bit of house cleaning before he gets on his board. Good position of the board, though. Hopefully it doesn't sag too much so he can get that second pocket nice and clean. Ferry Swan, and he's got his second pocket already set. Board is in place. And look at the angle on Ferry Swan's board. And this is what I'm talking about. Being a lighter guy, he has the advantage of being able to go way out to the back of that board with that steep angle and really use his legs and his hips to absolutely power through those strokes. Michael Dubicki, on the other hand, he's a big man. He doesn't have the steep angle, but he's got so much power that he might just do well against Ferry here. Got to make sure you don't cut it and block that thing out, though, from the one side only, but both of them have moved over to the other side, and wow, Ferry Swan at 54.35, Dubicki at 54.93, another close heat, and again, the fist pump from Ferry Swan that he is so known for. You're going to see that a lot from that young man in Timber Sports in the next while. And there it is again. House cleaning and board placement from both of these guys. Great job on this heat. Michael Dubicki doing a lot of house cleaning today here. But it was a very, very, very close battle between these two. All right, as that was our last heat in round 2, let's take a look at the springboard rankings. Ferry Swan and Mikael Dubicki right behind each other, 2 and 3. Komarek still on top of the rankings there. And in the overall standings, Komarek stays on top in a good position with Dubicki and Swan in 2nd and 3rd, respectively.
Well, springboard, that's probably my favorite discipline, but it must be so exhausting to compete in springboard. Troy, would you say this is the most exhausting of them all?
I don't know if I would say it's the most exhausting, but I'd say it's probably the most mentally challenging of them all because there's so many things that are going on at the same time. You've got to set a good pocket. You've got to have the right board angle. Then you've got to set a second pocket and the right board angle the second time around. And then once all that's done, you got to think about cutting 2 meters above the ground with an axe you could shave with. So, like I said, that's a lot of stuff going on. It's a mentally challenging and physically challenging discipline. So those two things combined together make it probably one of the most stressful disciplines of all of them.
Well, let's see how our top 2 athletes handled the stress. Ferry Swan and Martin Komarek in a head-to-head analysis.
It's interesting that we're looking at these two guys here too as well. I mean, one of the older statesmen of the sport and one of the new young guys that's going to be an absolute legend down the road. He's already created a massive name for himself, and you can see the two of them are just so good with setting those pockets. The experience of Martin Komarek and those really quick pockets gets him up on top before Ferry Swan, But look at the angle on that board. I mentioned that right off the hop when Ferry Swan got onto that top board. He's got a huge amount of angle on that springboard, and now he can really utilize his hips and his leg to twist and put power into that stroke. Now, Martin Komarek's angle isn't that much, but he's still got enough, and he switches over to the other side here a little bit earlier than Ferry Swan did, and you can see the difference in the hits there. Martin Komarek with the faster time, but Ferry Swan not that far behind him. And it's a really, really nice set of battles that we're going to see down the road. If Martin Komarek keeps going the way he's going, and Ferry Swan, we know, is definitely improving from event to event. So after the first and second rounds, the overall standings look like this, with Martin Komarek on top with 53, Mikael Dubicki in second with 50, and Ferry Swan, as we've said, the young man from Sweden, is just rock and roll in TIMBERSPORTS, sitting in 3rd place with 45 points. Koen Martens and Danny Marr rounding out the top 5 in the overall standings.
Unreal. Martin Komarek, this one goes out to you. I can't believe how this man is competing. Absolutely unreal. And if you want to see some more absolutely amazing STIHL TIMBERSPORTS events on demand, well, take a look at this schedule. We've got some coming up for you. This is what happened in the year 2020. And we've got something very special for you coming up on the 2nd of January. And that's the first competition of the year 2021. It's a brand new competition. It's called the Virtual European Hot Saw Challenge. Something that we are very excited about, Troy, and very much looking forward to.
Yeah, it's going to be a new set of, or a new way of doing a discipline, so I'm really looking forward to that too, because, you know, for all you gas heads out there, it's going to be a perfect event, yeah?
Yeah, I feel manly just thinking about it. That's going to be a great start into the new year. And of course, now we have only one more discipline left, and that is the hot saw. And as you all know, this is where it happens. This is the maker or the breaker. Bam.
This is the one. Looking at the individual competition, most of the time it's the hot saw that makes the difference.
Yeah, probably the most important event, but yeah, also the most frustrating.
These saws are so incredibly powerful and dangerous.
Usually the hot saw is the slider.
Stand to timber.
Hot saw. Hot saw.
I just can't describe to you when we're out there under pressure.
Saw starts well, first disc looks solid, cut is good.
You know, you're always ending the competition on a hot saw, so you know where you're going to be at when you finish. So you're either at a real big high or just is what it is.
Nice clean cuts, easy and relaxed.
Der Hot Saw ist für mich die geilste Disziplin der Welt.
5, 6, 8, Robert after, 3 on the deck. Once the competition comes, anything can happen. Oh no, a false start by Sterling Hart. What a disaster.
Yeah, it was a disappointment for me. Happens though, it's part of competing.
I saw there's 3 good discs there, but then let that nose come right up underneath the crossover line.
Fortunately, a disqualification.
It all relies on the hot saw.
If you have bad luck or if you did wrong, it's sport. Just,
oh my goodness. What an absolute disaster. The chain came off.
I was not disappointed because everybody see that I can be with the guys in front.
Yeah, it's the make or break event, you know.
I think you love and you hate it.
Try to make 3 good cuts and no disqualification.
The hot saw is where it's all one, so that's the best event.
Well, Troy, let's take a closer look at the overall standing after the first 2 rounds. In round 3, of course, everybody will go all by themselves.
Yeah, the hot saw is generally alone on stage, but because the virtual championships that we're having this year, I mean, these guys were all alone in their individual training areas, so it's going to be a little bit different, but typically we see them alone on stage, and we've only got 6 guys going into the hot saw competition that have a chance to take this first virtual European championship home. So there's still everything wide open, and it's anybody's game with a very finicky discipline in the hot saw.
So the 6 final heats coming up in just a moment. But before that, we want to take a closer look at the saws and, of course, how the discipline works. Enjoy.
These custom handmade race-tuned machines are built for maximum power and precision and to cut the wood as fast as possible in a competition. They are built with a 60 to 80 horsepower single-cylinder 2-stroke engine, often taken from a snowmobile or high-powered motorbike. The hot saw can weigh up to 30 kilograms and its chain rotates at over 250 kilometers an hour. The cost of a competition hot saw used in STIHL TIMBERSPORTS is upward of 6,000 euros. Hot saw. For the hot saw, power saws are called into action and the athletes have a space of 15 centimeters to cut 3 complete discs off a 46 centimeter thick wooden block. Jumping the start or cutting over the line will result in a disqualification.
All right, so there you see, it's no head-to-heads anymore. It's just individuals on stage with Puy-Barré, Martins, Svan, Dubicki, and Komarek all getting their chance to take the hot saw home. World record, 5.20 seconds held by Dirk Brown. He got that back in 2016 at the German Championships, and our first athlete will be Pierre Puy-Barré. His personal best is a very, very peppy 6.32. Let's see if he can match or better that time here today.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Looks like 3 good cookies on the deck with a time of 6.31 seconds. So he stays consistent. A quick check to make sure he didn't cut over the line and that his cookies are complete. Looks like everything is good though. As we take a look back here, strokes it on the way up as he gets that thing going in mid-motion. Nice thin cookie to start. Watch this second one. Also very thin for the upstroke, and then opts for a little bit of a thicker one because he knew he had some space to play with, and he was safe after those 3 cuts. Good job by Pierre Puy-Barré. All right, so first points are awarded, and you can see the top spot is earning 18 points in this discipline, and that means that Pierre Puy-Barré will be in second place in the overall standings here, with Martin Komarek holding down 53, still in the lead, and our next athlete on deck is Danny Marr. Now you can see his personal best time, 5.70. He trains a lot with Dirk Brown, the guy who holds the world record. And I'm sure Dirk's giving him tips, but he's probably not telling him everything he needs to know to take a new world record home. But we might get there one day. But Danny Marr definitely tops in this
3,
discipline.
2, 1, go!
Oh, a little bit of a delay on the upstroke and another real kick there on the downstroke, and he's got a 6.58. Nowhere near his best time. He's almost at the 7-second mark there. Let's take a look back and see what happened. First cut was very good. Then a little bit of a pause on the upstroke of the second cut, and the saw just kicked on him as he was trying to get that third and final cut, and that all just cost a little bit too much time. So Danny Marr will have second place in the hot saw discipline so far. Yeah, there you go. Second place in hot saw, 6.58, 27 hundredths of a second off pace for the moment, but it means he's got 53 points, tied for the top spot with Martin Komarek. Next up, Koen Martens. Koen Martens, what a personal best. Hey, I don't need to say anything about that one. The devil's in the details, if you know what I mean. Let's see if he can pull out a nice fast time here in this competition.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
A little bit of a pause on his first cut, and he's got himself a good time. 6.12. Should be a personal best, but wait a minute. He got a heavy angle on that down cut. Did he go over the line? Let's take a look again here. First cut, little bit of a delay getting in there. It's a nice thin cookie on that second cut. It's a bit thick, and then here he had a bit of an angle towards that back line, but it looks like he might be safe. Let's see. Yes. Koen Martens with a 6.12 at a new personal best for him and 18 points. So he is leading in hot saw for the moment. And in the overall, he moves into the top spot with 57 points, just ahead of Komarek and Marr, who Komarek has 53 and Marr 50.
Well, as we're halfway through the hot saw competition, it's time for another interview. Let's hear what Koen Martens has to say to his competition so far.
I'm very happy how the hot saw went. On the national championship, I had to restart my hot saw, so my time was not that good. So now I guess I will be under 7 seconds or something. That's my feeling. So no mistakes, so I'm happy.
Well, Koen, you guessed right that it was an unofficial personal best. Well done. Right, back to the competition.
Yeah, let's get it on. Come on.
Let's find out who's going to win this.
3 more athletes to go. Ferry Swan up next in heat number 4 in the hot saw. This is a discipline where experience plays such a huge role, and this is not Ferry Swan's strongest discipline, although he does have a solid personal best time of 7.68 seconds. Let's see if he can have a good clean run here today.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Nice clean start by Ferry Swan. Good and thin. Oh, but he cut a half cookie there. He needs to go and do it again and then get that third cookie. That's going to cost him time. 8.58. And you could see there was a disappointed head shake right there as his angle was just a little bit too sharp on that second cookie on the upstroke. The judges will check to make sure he hasn't gone over the line, but so far, as long as he's got 3 clean cookies, he should be good.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had a clear cut.
All right, so there you go. We have a good cut. Unfortunately, that second one was a time killer. There, he cut out, so had to restart the cut on the upstroke, a big fat one, and then went down for his final cookie. Luckily, they were all within that marking setup, and you could see that's the shake of disappointment right there. So Ferry Swan with an 8.58 in hot saw, 9 points added to his overall score, moves into second place, pushing Komarek and Marr down. And we still have, Komarek hasn't even competed yet, so that should be interesting as Mikael Dubicki is getting ready for his hot saw. Last 2 guys here. So Mikael Dubicki, not the strongest hot saw competitor at 8.73, a personal best for him. But, as we've said, he's been training hard.
making sure that he is fit and ready to go. Could this be his day? Let's find out.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, an 8-4-6. A lot of hesitation in each of those cuts. That first set, you'll see this in the replay. He starts it up and he gets his placement and he hovers there for a second before making that first cut. And then he hovers again to set that third one. And then the cut is a little bit slower, but nevertheless, he was faster than his personal best time, so it's unofficial. He's got himself a slightly faster time and 9 points here, sitting down in 4th place in the hot saw, and that means he should go into the top spot. He does, in the top spot of the overall standings with 59 points. So there's only one athlete still to come, and that is Martin Komarek. .593. He's got the national record for the Czech Republic, but this is a discipline that Martin Komarek has got a love-hate relationship with. He loves the discipline, but the saws seem to hate him sometimes.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh no! And it happened again. An odd angle cut and the chain came off the saw. It looks like it actually broke out completely. And this is the same thing that happened to him a few years ago in Liverpool. And he ran to the backstage to try and put the chain back on, but the time just ran out on him. And here it looks like the chain has broken completely. That is a devastating situation for Martin Komarek, because he's had such a solid competition up to this point now. And both of them are just staring at it with a loss as to what to do.
Was macht man? DQ? Yeah. Wegen?
It's DQ, right? I mean, he's going to run out of time. And snap the chain and can't put one on. That's what it'll be. Yeah.
And you can hear in the background on the radio Spike Milton, the director of sports for STIHL TIMBERSPORTS, is discussing it with the judges there.
This cut is Q because of time limit, out of time limit.
An unfortunate situation again for Martin Komarek. Watch what happens here on the upstroke. The angle is just a little bit too sharp. The chain breaks completely. Maybe a different view of it here, and we can see what actually happened. Yeah, he got stuck in there, a little bit too much pressure, and the chain just broke off. And that was that for Martin Komarek. Too bad. So a DQ for Martin Komarek means 0 points, and that means in hot saw, Koen Martens is the winner. However, in the overall standings, Mika Dubicki takes it with 59 points and is your virtual European champion for 2020.
Well, congratulations to Michael Dubicki, but I feel so sorry for Martin Komarek. What an amazing competition he had, and it's never been more true. Hot saw is the maker or the breaker, and in this case, it was the breaker for Komarek. Let's find out what he has to say.
Yeah, the hot saw was not so good because the chain fell down and then break the chain, but it was my mistake.
Oh wow, what a nice guy, Troy, huh? I mean, he would have had that competition in the bag, more or less, by having 3 clean cuts, and he's still smiling. Yeah, full respect to this man.
Yeah, he's one of the most respected and loved guys in the sport of timber sports. I mean, he's always got a smile on his face. He's always positive, and even in those situations where something unforeseen happens, now it's twice that we've seen the chain fall off of his saw, he still has a smile on his face, and you got to respect that. You know, he'll come back. You could see he's definitely there, and you know, he's been a champion so many times. I don't see why he can't do it again.
Oh, I'm sure he can, and maybe Koen Martens and Pierre Puberé can show him how. We're going to see a head-to-head of those two guys because they were the best in hot saw today.
Here we see Koen Martens, Pierre Puberé. Pierre got into the log right away. Koen Martens hovered a little bit there, and I think that Koen Martens would have been probably a half blade faster had he not hovered, but nice times for both of these guys and nice and clean.
Brilliant stuff. So let's take a look at the overall standings at the end of the day, Troy.
Yeah, Michal Dubicki with 59 points. Koen Martens there in second place with 57. Then Martin Komarek anyway with 53 points, having 0 in the hot saw.
Unreal.
So you can imagine where he would be if he had gotten the at least a score in the hot saw. He would have been absolutely on top of the ranking.
And of course, great day for Ferry Swan and Stanley Marr as well, reaching positions 4 and 5. Yeah. Great competition. Really enjoyed that.
Absolutely fun in virtual and in real.
So let's move on to our virtual winner ceremony for the top 3 in this competition. And that, of course, is going to be enjoyable as well, because Troy and me are going to try and give him a proper applause and something ceremonial-like. So here are the top 3 of the first ever virtual European Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, bronze medalist Martin Komarek. Well, what a great competition he had, Troy. Great job.
Absolutely.
Let's give him a big round of applause.
Big applause for him.
And silver goes to Koen Martens.
Martins. Yeah, he was fantastic all day long.
He's a cool dude.
And you could see that grin right there. That's the grin of a mischief maker. That's what makes him a lot of fun.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the gold medalist and the first ever virtual European champion, Michal Dubicki.
Yeah, Dubicki, absolutely a beast. Power, accuracy, and durability. He did it. Good job.
And of course, now it's time to hand over the trophy to the champion. Well, to be honest, I didn't understand a word that Michal was saying, but he seemed very happy, and I'm very happy too, because I've got Michal on the phone now. Michal, congratulations. How does it feel to be the first virtual European champion ever?
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. This message that I have become the new European champion, the first virtual European champion, is so wonderful. It's an amazing feeling. I'm a bit overwhelmed, but I'm also so happy.
Well, we know performing without spectators is strange, but this time you didn't even compete against other athletes. Can you describe your feelings on this empty stage?
Yes, the competitions were in isolation. I tried not to think about it and not to analyze it. There was no time to think who would compete with or who I would compete with. Before the start of each discipline, I concentrated on my own start. I prepared individually, concentrated mentally to achieve the best possible time. Of course, the lack of the other athletes and spectators was felt and caused a lack of adrenaline for me, but as you see, it worked out pretty well.
Michal, finally, is there a message you want to send out to the world, to the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS fans, and of course your colleagues, your athlete colleagues?
Yes, of course. I'd like to greet all of my friends and the athletes and, of course, the fans. And I'd like to wish you in the coming new year, first of all, a lot of health and happiness. So greetings from Michal Dubicki, the European champion.
Well, thanks very much, Michal, and congratulations again. Oh, wow, the first virtual European championship. It's been absolutely amazing. I had a great time. I hope you had one too, Troy.
I had a ball. It's fun. I mean, I always enjoy doing the timber sports, and I mean, these guys showed absolute class and skill, and made it more exciting as well. Under the circumstances, we have to give them all big congratulations because it was a lot of fun.
And of course, only a few more days until the next competition, the first virtual European Hot Saw Challenge coming up on the 2nd of January. Hopefully you're going to be there as well. It's time for us to say goodbye. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy. And here are the pictures of the day. Here are your highlights. Good night. Bye-bye.
Ciao da.